Commetive Podcast
คุณกำลังฟัง
Commetive Podcast
Hi guys, this is Aam and welcome to Commetive Podcast. And today we're gonna speak English as you can hear right now. So I want to mention that the podcast is available on iTunes, Spotify. But if you want to see me talking, just go to YouTube, especially Commetive YouTube. And today we have a very interesting topic to talk about. As you know that BL series. I don't even know at first what is BL mean, but yeah, BL series is become huge popular in like the whole world, and it's one of the things that help Thailand economy. That's kind of weird, right? Because like we not really accept the LGBTQ that much. We don't even have like a same-sex marriage legal. So yeah, I have been talked to lots of BL fans in Asia, especially in like Taiwan and stuff like that. But I never have a chance to talk to BL fans from the West. Am I right? Yeah, the West. And yeah, today is kind of very special that I have one guest that I really looking up to her because she's like not the real, like I cannot say the real fans, but she's really super fans of BL. She watched lots of BL series, and yeah, you can, if you use TikTok and you're BL fans, you know her. So please welcome Tara.
Hi.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi Tara. So this is Tara. She's from, okay, I don't want to introduce yourself. I want you to introduce yourself by yourself. Yeah.
I'm Tara. I am from Michigan, United States. I am like I said, I'm a creator on TikTok, mostly doing BL content, some other stuff here and there, but mostly doing BL. I focus a lot on analysis and education about the industry and kind of about like certain things that are going on. I've been consuming BL for, I think it's 11 years now. So I've been in it for a very long time, but I've kind of gotten to see like the progression of it. So I think it's definitely really interesting. And then seeing like where BL is now compared to where it was 11 years ago is absolutely insane. It's actually really interesting.
11 years. You are the fans for BL for 11 years. That's a really long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't make BL yet at that time. And yeah, so like, you know, right now it's kind of surprised me a lot, you know, as a BL creator, filmmaker, and something like that, that BL series becomes just such a huge success in the past 3 years, especially Thai especially Thai BL. And I found out like why. I just don't get it. Like, because I have been make BL film in 2015, and at that time it's not that famous, you know. But this time it's just everything everything have to be BL. Like if you go on the Twitter trend, every single day, every time they at least have one BL hashtags over there. So do you think why do you think that BL becomes such a famous in the past 3 years?
I think a lot of it just has to do with honestly, a lot of it has to do with the marketing. A lot of it has to do with the marketing, the way that they're marketing, the age group that they're marketing. You're seeing a lot of people a lot of the people that they're marketing to, the BL fans, are starting to get to the point where they have money to then put into the industry. And then of course, the more money that gets put in the industry, the more they're going to make of it, you know? And it is marketed towards a big demographic, which is mostly women, but that's broadening out early high school to like mid-20s age, though of course like everybody of all ages consumes it, but that's typically the main demographic. And we're also definitely in a time where like fandom and feeding into fandoms is a really big thing, and part of that is spending a lot of money on it. And so you're going to get a lot of once, like I said, the more money that goes into an industry, the more you're going to get out of it. And then especially, it's definitely grown, I've noticed in the last year, because I think with quarantine and, with the COVID situation, people not going out and things like that, it's definitely grown between really with just from people not having a whole lot to do. And I think one thing that was really smart is really like GMMTV putting a lot of their stuff either on Netflix or on YouTube. So it's on a platform that most people already have, or it's free. And so then people dive like headfirst into it and then just end up getting stuck there. And then it just kind of grows from there.
I see. Okay, so I forgot to mention you guys that today's episode is just our opinions. Okay, it's just like 2% opinion. So if you disagree, that's all. That's fine. I love to agree to disagree. And Tara, if you have any question and you disagree with me, feel free to talk. I would love to have like some kind of
I'm not afraid to voice my opinions.
Yeah, that's a good thing. So yeah, that's why I choose you. So let's go back to 11 years ago, right? How come you become a BL fans? Like why? What the beginning?
Well, it actually started with because I was getting into anime at that same time. And so going on to a lot of the different forum sites, like a really popular one at the time was Tumblr and DeviantArt and, sites like that. Just scrolling through the different tags and looking at my favorite anime, one thing that really started to pop up is that there are people who would pair different characters together. And one of the most common pairings that you would find was from an anime called Naruto, and it was the two guys, Naruto and Sasuke. And so that always, the idea of that pairing always really caught my eye in different pairings like that, because that used to be what they were called. They weren't called ships, they were called pairings. And so from there, and just kind of like keeping going with that, doing research. So a lot of the time, if you were getting any sort of BL content, it was based off of that. It was fan made, whether it was fan fiction, people writing hi Chloe, whether it was fan fiction or people making fan art, people making their own art. And then eventually I stumbled across this one anime called Junjo Romantica, which is actually a BL anime. And then it just kind of went from there. And they always kind of caught my interest. And I always grabbed I always grabbed anything I could possibly get my hands on, which was very far and few in between at that time. It was really hard to find. And a lot of times if you could find it, it was like fan translations, or it was really bad, like bootlegs. It was all illegal because there was no other option to be able to get it. And then so, especially when it came to like any sort of dramas or movies, like we had Brokeback Mountain, and that was the closest thing. And we were getting like,
I remember I saw Brokeback Mountain and I depressed. I was so depressed. I was like, I'm gonna die in the future or something like that.
Well, and that's one of the, and honestly, that's one of the reasons why I think like Eastern BL is so attractive, because when we do get queer media over in the West, it's usually based around like our history and our trauma, like queer history and like queer trauma. So we could get these love stories, but they usually involved like insane stereotypes. They usually involved someone dying. And usually involved having to do with the AIDS HIV epidemic, or like insane drug use. And it was just like, it's not like that kind of thing is important. Like remembering our history is important, but sometimes you do want to just watch a nice love story. Right. And for a very long time, we never got that. But in BL, that's what you get. So I know for a lot of queer people, it's nice just being able to watch just a love story,
right?
And not having to have every single movie or every single ounce of queer media you get just being about death and drugs and all of this,
right.
not so fun stuff.
Yeah.
And so Yeah. And so from there, it was also just like, and then from there, and then especially like when Netflix came out and Hulu came out, and you know, platforms like that, being able to get my hands on any sort of queer media that I possibly could, like I watched everything. I watched everything, anything that would pop up in those categories, which wasn't a whole lot, and it was definitely not a lot coming out of the East. And then finally last summer, Netflix had GMMTV had put SOTUS, the series, up on Netflix, and that was actually how I found Thai BL and Eastern BL dramas.
Cool. And yeah, I feel like on the West, like people talking about when they create like a queer artwork, or like queer films, queer series, they will address about drag. I have been watched Queer as Folk once, just a couple first season. You heard about this show?
Yeah, I managed to get through like a few episodes of it, but I never even managed to get through like a whole season of it.
It's very scary. It's like all about sex and stuff like that, and it's just like kind of like, we not like that, come on people.
Yeah.
So like, you know, when people watch those kind of series, that they're gonna assume that, okay, most of gay people are gonna be like this, and it's just for me, it's like very hurt because I'm not like that, and the society label like put us, you know, I'm that kind of person, like you want sex all the time and something like that, like that. This kind of weird. And so are you a romantic person, do you think?
Sometimes I like to think so. Like I do believe in love and I do believe in romance, but when I'm also not a very like, I definitely show like my affection in different ways. I mean, that was one thing about BL, is I always thought I was not a romantic person at all, because I had no interest in romantic movies, no interest in romantic TV shows at all, until I got into BL. And then it's like, I definitely enjoyed a lot more than het dramas, but then also I've actually developed a new appreciation for het romances as well, to kind of see, I kind of look at them in a different light too. But when it comes to me personally, I don't know. I think it really depends. Like I can be, but when it comes to like the like mushy gushy stuff, I'm not really into that at all.
So what does love mean to you? It was like, it's very cliche question, but yeah, I just want to ask.
For me, it's about being able to just be. It's like, it's about being able to just be with that certain person, like be who you are, and not have to worry about like putting on a front or putting on a face, or you know, not feeling like you need to do anything special to make yourself or their presence or your presence or the time you're spending together worthwhile. I think it is just about just being able to just exist comfortably with another person.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. So what about boys love? What does it mean? Like boy love series, BL.
Like you're like asking like what boys love means, like when it comes to the series. Oh,
Yeah.
well, I think for everyone it's different. Like everyone I've talked to seems to have a different answer. The way I've always seen it is that boys love is a subgenre of the romance genre, but it's just focusing on the relationship between two guys, whatever that may look like.
So yeah, I heard about like they have 3 type of BL series. They have like gay series, which is only gay person can be in love with gay person, and BL series, which is need to be only straight guy fall in love with straight guy. And the last category is bromance, that somehow the 2 guys become friends and we just imagine that they are in love, something like that. And I found out that things kind of complicated me a lot, because once people just want to someone just want to hire me because they want to me to make a bromance series for some country which is really big. I cannot name the country because the fans is gonna be
Yeah.
So yeah, I got that job, but then when I just heard the brief from the producer, they said, do whatever you want, just like make the audience believe that they are in love, but no holding hand, no hug and everything and stuff like that. And I was like, I don't get it. What your opinions about this?
I think if we're looking at those definitions, in my opinion, like the definition like for bromance is pretty spot on. Typically what it sounds like they're describing though is a censored romance, and censored romance is different from a bromance. A censored romance, in my experience, is something like that where it's like it is established that the two main characters are supposed to be in love, but they aren't allowed to show that because of censorship reasons. And so they cut out, like basically just the physical stuff, because usually if you look at the dialogue or like the way that everything is filmed, like it's still very obvious that they're in love with each other. They just can't like explicitly say it. Where bromance, the idea behind bromance in my experience is that the two characters aren't actually in love. Like they were never, like that's not established that the two characters are supposed to be in love. They just have such a strong bond with each other that it could be read as romantic from a third party. One of the most classic examples of that is from the show Boy Meets World. Two characters, Jack and Eric, are very, very close friends. Like they have such a bond, and the way they interact with each other, like a lot of people kind of look at that and go, oh yeah, no, they're totally in love, when they never actually were. And now when it comes to like the gay works versus boys love, I don't really agree with those definitions in my experience. Like I know a lot of people, and I know especially for boys love, the definition being it's a straight man falling in love with a straight man. There are definitely some dramas, like some novels that were written like that, but that's not necessarily the case at all, especially coming out of, one thing I've noticed, especially with the works coming out of Thailand, but really out of the East in general, is that it's almost like sexuality doesn't really play a role into it. Because at least like one phrase that you hear a lot, and it's a very controversial phrase that's used in BL, is I don't love men, I love you.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people take that to mean I am a straight man, you're just the exception. That's not how I always interpreted it. I always interpreted it as I don't just suddenly like men. It's just I fell in love with you as a person. So that's how I always took it. But I think also a lot of people look at it as just these are straight men, because many times they don't write themselves as having a label. There's very few BLs out there where the character has a label attached to them, whether it's gay. I think I've seen one bisexual character in all of Eastern BL where he actually calls himself bisexual. And you will get a few that say, I'm gay, or you will get a few that won't even put that label on it. They'll just say, I like men. But a lot of times they don't have a label at all. But I think people see that, and a lot of fans will see that and then say, well, like, oh, it's because they're straight. But that's not necessarily the case, especially lately, especially because we are getting more and more dramas out there where not only are they not given a label like at all, but it's almost like they live in this almost kind of fantasy world where like sexuality isn't really a thing. It's just who you ended up falling for. Like it's not really part of the plot point of, oh, you like men, that's a problem, or oh, you like men, you're a man that likes men, like that's weird. So the definition of like, oh, it's a straight man falling in love with a straight man, I definitely don't think that that's the case at all.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think gay media is, personally, I think gay media is something completely different, because I always saw like gay media is something involving a queer or gay character, but it's maybe not necessarily a romance. It just involves a gay or queer character, where BL is about like the romance behind it.
So yeah, as you know that lots of BL series is made from the novel that wrote by a female writer, and then I suddenly see lots of BL series out there are putting a woman or a girl to be like the bad people in the series.
That is a problem. That is a problem in a lot of series.
And I just don't understand, like, because the female writer are writing about female character, which is such a bitch one and very stupid one, who like she is gonna be the last person who know everything, and she always be a bad bitch. Like, do you have opinion about it? Like, why those writers write that?
I honestly, like, I don't know why. I think it's because they just feel like they need to have an antagonist, which it's like not every show needs to have an antagonist, or like needs to have like a specific person be an antagonist, or I think it's just, or sometimes it's just kind of throw in to like create extra drama. I don't know why specifically it has to be a woman. That happens a lot, and I actually really, really dislike it. And so I like most of my favorite BLs don't have that plot point for like, I mean, that's not on purpose, but that's usually kind of how it ends up. Like, I've seen so many BLs where they could have been really, really good, and I could have ended up really, really enjoying them, but then they just had to throw in that, like, that antagonist, awful woman character in there, whether it's a jealous ex or someone who likes one of the guys who doesn't like that they're together, or or someone who is just, I guess, bored one day. Like, I never understood like why that has to be a thing. Like, it never made sense to me.
Yeah,
Like,
it doesn't
it
make
almost feels
sense
like,
to me too.
it almost feels like lazy writing at this point. It's like, is it really to the point where you couldn't think of any sort of other drama or any way to like move the plot forward without putting in this like awful female character? Like, it just feels like lazy writing at this point.
Yeah. So when I made Present Still Perfect, I made woman character to be a very nice. Like, she is super
Yeah,
super nice, and then people
I
were like,
loved her. I loved her.
and then people were like, this is unreal. This is not happening. This is like, and I was like, okay, so what female themselves think about themselves, they think that the fan, like the BL fans, always think that you are a bad bitch all the time, or why is I have a nice character as a female
Yeah,
character.
I think honestly, I think some of it also goes into, I don't think it's conscious, but I think it also kind of goes into this mentality. It kind of builds this mentality that women are a threat, because you're trying to get a large population where of people, of mostly women, to essentially fall in love with these men, fall in love with these actors, develop these parasocial relationships, and fall in love with these characters, as a marketing strategy to get more money. And a great way to do that is to create this awful like female character, because then they feel, for the male characters, they feel that like they want to protect them or defend them. And it's easier to do that with a female character, because when your center is you're trying to get all of these fans to fall in love with these guys, it makes more sense to throw a woman in there for them to hate than a man in there for them to hate. Because then it's, well, women are the enemy then.
Yeah. So when I create Two Moon 2, I was reading the book, and I was like, oh, why the female character in this book is such a bitch one? So I avoid a lot in the series. I didn't talk about like female character because it's such a bitch one. So
I actually loved that Capra was like the antagonist
yeah,
in that
yeah.
one for that little bit. That was actually one of the many directing, writing, whichever choices that I absolutely loved. And I remember going away from it because I'm like, oh, like it made me fall like everyone hated Capra's character in that, and I loved his character.
Mhm.
And like it's something different. It's something that we haven't been getting before, and he did it so well
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
And then that was yeah.
I try to make Kapao character. I also believe that no one is bad person,
Mhm.
and actually to Moon 3 we're gonna explain more about why Kapao is such a bad guy. But yeah, we cannot make it one because of my
Yeah.
don't sue me, okay? Okay. Uh, because I almost getting sued because I create call it what you want, and then um somehow some people believe that I'm talking about themselves. I'm talking about them, which is like I didn't mention them at all. So why
No.
you have to be such a like very what do they call, like put your shoes into the narrative,
Yeah.
yeah, that's weird. So as you know, like BL series or BL fan is one of the most created drama in the internet, on the internet, in the Twitter. There's gonna have drama almost every week. And
Yeah, it's always something. And
uh-huh,
especially right now, because a lot of people are bored
uh-huh,
because we're not getting as much content, especially out of Thailand. We're not getting nearly as much content. People are bored, and so they're creating so much more drama
mm-hmm.
lately, it
Yeah,
feels like.
yeah. And everything sometimes I tweet and it's just like myself tweet, it's just only my opinion, and people like capture, like screenshot my what I'm talking, and then just curse me and then wish me to die and then send me lots of messages and stuff like that. And I
Oh
was
yeah.
like why, like why? And someone gonna try to boycott my series because of I was working with this actor because of my attitude and stuff like that. And it just create drama every day. And I just, at first when I'm on Twitter, I feel like I am so happy to be myself and I just tweet
Mm-hmm.
whatever I want to tweet. But now today I'm very afraid of it. I'm just like whenever I just want to tweet something, I was like, oh my god, it's gonna affect to my series or not, because like all the actor behind me, it's gonna get affect everything. And
Yeah.
that's not gonna, and the beer fans are like and also the beer fans very supportive. They are very active about the fans, like the voting stuff, how to make their couple get to number one, like they are
Mm-hmm.
vote so bad and tweet to get trend on Twitter. So do you know why, like what's purpose, like motivation what motivation from them that make them love their their ship, the ship, or what do they call, whatever they call it, like they couple so much, what
I
motivation?
I I mean, a lot of it is it's actually it stems from parasocial relationships. So the thing about parasocial relationships is that is a feeling that can get so strong. Parasocial relationships are the feeling that you get as the consumer, thinking that you have a special connection with whatever celebrity, and it's be for any reason, and it's one-sided because it's on the side of the consumer. And I think a lot of it has to do with marketing, because especially out of the BL industry, mostly out of the Thai BL industry, the way that these couples are marketed, it develops these really, really strong parasocial relationships. And so fans develop a huge sense of entitlement when it comes to these couples, but they also develop a huge sense of like they need to support him, they need to defend him, they need to do this, they need to do that. But that also, so it's like if you have support of these fans, these BL fans, they are going to be like everything. Your career is going to soar. But if you lose that support in any way, they are going to be your biggest downfall. And it can cause people to just completely like, you say one wrong thing and your career is over, you're blacklisted. Like there are people who are out of the industry for years because of one thing that happened or one wrong thing that was said. It can cause some major issues, and it can also create like the rise and fall of entire shows and entire entire careers. So it's intense. Some people get really intense with it. Because it's also that like it's like they can't separate reality from the fantasy. I've seen so many instances where it's like I've seen fans, and like I'm not immune to this either. Of course I've had problems with it, but I always, because it's easy to fall into this kind of thing because that's how the industry is catered. It's catered to build these kind of fantasies that it can be hard to pull yourself away from and to pull yourself back into reality. And there are some people who go way too far with it, where it's like, okay, you as a fan are obviously forgetting that these are just real normal people with jobs and with lives. It's just, they're literally just putting out entertainment that you enjoy. And a lot of people forget that these actors, that these creators are just human. With jobs.
I saw that and I was very hurt from some of my actor. I didn't say any name, okay, guys. So like lots of my actors, they are suffering to be who they are. Like like in front of the fans on the stage, they have to pretend to kiss, holding hand and love each other. But behind the scene, they were like competition, who get the most who get the most follower, who get the most likes on Instagram on this picture. And I feel like that is very toxic for the actor. And
it turns into survival mode.
Yeah, and the actor was like get pressure from the manager as well, that if you hit 1 million follower, you're gonna get blah 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 and stuff like that. And and the fans, some fans is just forget that, as you mentioned before, they forget that the part of the job of them is acting, so that they acting. So it's okay if you enjoy the fan service, but sometimes they make mistake. Sometimes they say some stupid things, which is I say all the time. and that's become like that's so because of the BL fans very active, very like have lots of motivation to put the actor to become like number one, and then they create like a BL actor. Right now, BL actor, everyone want to become a BL actor, and they try to find every single way to become a BL actor, even the dirtiest way, the bad way. And someone is just like, I don't want to kiss the guys, but he's so handsome. But we want him to be in our series, and then he just suddenly said, I don't want to kiss the guys and stuff like that. But he needs to be in the BL series, but he want to be famous. So what do you think about those kind of people who just discrimination and stuff like that? It's lots of BL actor like that, to be honest.
Yeah. So this is a discourse that happens actually quite a bit, of people saying like, especially like fans saying like, oh, BL actors just use it as a way to get their foot in the door into the industry. Oh, they're just taking advantage of, of queer people and queer media to get into the industry. And on that end, on that basic level, I'm like, that's literally the entertainment industry. Of course, they're going to go for where they're going to be able to get a job to get their foot in the door, especially if this is what they want their career in. Now, when it comes to the people that are going to sit there and say, yes, I want to be a BL actor because I know it'll help me get a following and I know it'll get me famous, but I'm definitely not kissing a man. That's ridiculous. Like, I'm never gonna, like, I'm not the kind of person where I need to see like that physicality in the BL series, but also it's like, you as an actor, and going into this genre, like, this is literally what you're signing up for. Like, you're signing up for, you have to act like you're in love with the man. You have to, so it's like, you need to have that level of comfortability. But I also feel like in certain situations like that, like, it's one thing to have boundaries as a person and boundaries as an actor, because those are always important. But also, it's disrespectful to the people involved in the industry already. It's disrespectful to the people that you are auditioning for, because you're taking up their time. That if you're going to go into an industry because you're trying to get into an industry and you're auditioning for an industry where that this is the kind of thing that they expect of you, and you're going to sit there and waste everyone's time and be disrespectful like that, there's no place for that kind of people in the industry, in my opinion. Like, I don't see the point. Like, why would you waste your time? Why would you waste everyone else's time?
Yeah.
I think it
Yeah,
like,
go
I
ahead.
think it's different. I was gonna say, like, I think it's also, but then again too, like, I think it's different, and I wouldn't be surprised if this happens too, where they get to the audition and they're seeing like, if they're told like, oh, okay, there's like 2 kiss scenes and maybe you got to be shirtless, and then that's what they audition for, and then they get in later and it ends up being a lot more than that. That's something completely different to me, and I know because I've heard of that happening too.
Mhm.
But if they tell you straight up, this is what you're auditioning for, this is what the role entails, and then they're like, no, don't even waste anybody's time with that.
Mhm. So yeah, like lots of BL actor, when they become famous because of BL series, they just announce it to say like, goodbye, I'm not gonna play in BL series anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And that's hurt me a lot. I don't know. I don't know to feel. I don't know how to feel, but it's just feel like, why you just have to officially announcement that you say goodbye to the
Yeah.
BL industry. This is like not the right thing to do. So like BL actor are suffering from the fans, as I mentioned before, like because of they are believe that they are real couple outside
Mm-hmm.
of the television or whatever. What do you think about those fans? Are they toxic fans? Do they call like a toxic fan? But I don't want to call them like a toxic fan, because they have positive vibes. They don't have a negative things in their mind. They just want their couple to be success. But like, what should we tell them? Like,
I mean, I don't think it's inherently toxic, because it's once again, that's part of the fantasy. And two, like, when you as a fan really get to the point that you really care about them as individuals as well as them as a couple, if you kind of get into this mindset of like, oh, well, if they are a couple, then I'll definitely be happy for them. But I think where it gets toxic is when you get people being like, no, it's them, it's only them, they're definitely a couple, they're definitely really together, they're definitely not dating anybody else, and if they are dating anybody else, that's a problem and I will not support him. I've been lied to. Like, for instance, earlier this year, one of my favorite shipped pairing, my favorite couple, the couple where everyone looked to and was like, if there is any couple that is actually together, it's them. So many people believe that, and I was definitely one of those too. But then again, I was always in that mindset of, if they are together, great, supportive. If they actually aren't, okay, none of my business. But a lot of people don't stop it there. And so when it did come out earlier this year that one of them, it does actually have a girlfriend, there were so many people, so many fans that went absolutely ballistic. One, because they were confused. A lot of people felt really lied to. But there were a lot of people who were also really supportive. But then on the other hand, there were people who were just being awful about it. Like they were saying like awful things about the one guy and his girlfriend on Twitter. There are people sending them like awful messages. There are people sending them like making these awful videos about them. Like people saying that like they should never be allowed to work in the industry again because he has a girlfriend, that sort of thing. People just being absolutely ridiculous about it. So I think it's not inherently toxic, but it can definitely get there. And it actually has like caused issues to the point where like there have been people who have had to have like official like letters and like announcements being put out basically saying like stop threatening us, stop like coming after us, stop like just being like awful, like basically just let us be. So I think some people can just definitely go too far with it, but I don't think it's imagining like your favorite couple together is inherently toxic, but it can definitely get there.
Yeah, like when I was with my one of my actor for like 2 or 3 days because we have been workshopping very hard. And then suddenly the fan just create drama with no reason on Twitter. And I was with him, I was witness, and he was like, he didn't know what he did. And the fan just create things. And I was like, how come people just create drama with no evidence and people believe it? Most of fans believe it.
A lot of it is just boredom, and that's one of the things that it really kind of sucks about the internet is that it only takes one person to say something, whether it's true or false, and it will just spread like wildfire, whether there's any actual backing to it or not. Like,
yeah,
it's crazy the amount of times that I've had someone come to me, or I've seen something on the internet of someone making like this wild claim, and I'm sitting here like, okay, well, where's your proof? And they'd be like, oh, well, I just saw it on the internet. Like, how do you know that that's actually true then? How are you going to sit here and spread that information when you don't even know if it's true? Like,
yeah, it's kind of weird to know to witness about that, because we just do nothing, we just working, and then the drama just came and we just don't get it. I still don't get it now today. So okay, we have a couple more questions about lots of BL fans are girls, and it's very surprised me because I expect that BL fans should support like same-sex marriage, stuff like that. But at the end, when I shout out about this, or when I speak about this, like nobody care. And like when I need people to just sign up for, I want like 100,000 messages from the BL fans to support same-sex marriage in Thailand, most of them disagree, and I don't get it. What do your opinions about it? Like why they just, I feel like they accept the show, they accept that two guys in love each other, but in the real life they don't really care about this.
I mean, I can't really speak. I mean, of course, I can't speak for Thai fans, but at least I know in my experience, it does come from a lot of people where like they enjoy the fantasy of it. Like they're still like they're enjoying the fantasy, and then there are some who one could even argue it's on the level of fetishization, where they definitely not the majority of BL fans, but there are some BL fans out there where they do just fetishize gay relationships, and that's why they're into this. But for a lot, I still think for a lot of people
it is the fantasy. They like the fantasy of like two guys being together, but they're still not okay with like laws being changed. I don't see that as nearly as much over here in the West, but it definitely still absolutely exists. And then I think for a lot of people too, it's not that they're against those issues like same-sex marriage and things like that. It's just that
Not their business.
they just don't focus on it. Like they don't really feel like they need to have an opinion on it, I guess. Once again, though, that's coming from a Western perspective where they're like, they just don't want to get involved in politics. That's a lot of people, is they just don't want to get involved in politics. And they, even though this is something that's really, really important to them, that's still getting involved in politics and they don't want any part of it.
So how different between the fans from the West and the East, like from Asia and from Europe and America? What do you think? How different?
I'm not really 100% sure. Just because pretty much all of my interactions happens to come from the West. I will say, I will say from what I've heard from like other people, like the shipping culture is a little more intense over here. Like people, like interfans are a little more intense when it comes to the ships. And I think some of that might just have to do with we don't have as old of a shipping culture than over in the East. And what shipping culture we do have is literally just over fictional characters. And so it developed that fans now can't separate like the real people from the fictional characters, because that's where our shipping came from, was just shipping fictional characters. So someone could be as intense as they wanted to be about it because it didn't matter. It's a fictional character. And so now they're not understanding that they do have to come at it a different way when we are dealing with real people and their real lives. Other than that, I can't really think, because I think a lot of it is the same. Like I think at least based off of what I've seen, like there's a lot of entitlement that comes with it, but I think the entitlement also goes a little bit differently. I know that like there's a lot of interfans who do feel like we're owed more. Like one of the biggest things that we see a lot, and that is a lot of discourse, is how often actors from the East, like from Thailand or Taiwan or wherever, the most common question is, can you do more in English? Can you do more in English? Can you do more in English? Even when they have explicitly said that they don't really know English, or their English isn't great, or they're not comfortable speaking English, or just, the fact that English is not their first language. And so there's a lot of entitlement from Western fans that because a lot of us speak English, the actors that we follow should also be speaking English so that we can understand them. Even though it's like, we're not expected to learn Thai to be able to consume these. Why should we expect them to learn English? Like, is it helpful? Yeah. Do I feel a little bit special when I can understand what the actors are saying? Yes. But also, like, I understand that, kind of goes back to that. I'm not expected to learn Thai. I'm not going to and speak, and just read everything and listen to everything in Thai. I'm not going to expect them to just speak in English,
Yeah. So do you have any message to BL fans in Thailand or in Asia? As perspective from the West BL fans.
I don't know. I don't know, because I don't even know what I would say.
Yeah, because I was kind of surprised me a lot, because on the films Present Still Perfect, and I saw like lots of people, like number one country that watched Present Still Perfect the most is USA. and the second is UK, and the third is
Yeah.
Germany, and the fourth is Thailand. And I was like, why my work is not like Thai people not happy with my work or somehow, like what?
I guess that'd be the biggest thing is I would really be interested in seeing the differences and like what Western fans like versus what Eastern fans like, because I know I've seen some where there are some shows that do really, really great over in the West, but not so great over in the East. And then there are other shows that do amazingly in the East, but that the West don't really talk about, kind of like what you're talking about with Present Still Perfect. And then there
and
is
Two Moon 2 as well, actually. Call It
yeah.
What You Want as well.
Yeah, and then you have like there's this one Korean BL that apparently is like super 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 famous over in Korea. Like that is like people are go crazy over it. But then it's like it's kind of popular over in the West, but not nearly as popular as like other Korean BLs. And then there's a few, and then but then there's the one censored romance from, let's just call it the Big Country, the Big Country, which is popular which is popular everywhere. And so that's one thing I was just like, I'd just be really interested to see like interested to know like what makes like where that difference is, like why are some more popular in certain areas than in others. Like why are there some that are more popular in the West than in the East, and why are there some that are more popular in the East than the West? Like where, like what is the thing that is separating them that makes who is more into them so different? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, it's kind of weird for me. It's just like I just made a series or a films. I of course I would love Thai people to watch, but it's become like Two Moon Two or Present Still Perfect. It's only 13% of Thai people who watch it, and then it's just from outside, or maybe I just always tweet in English. That's why Thai people don't interesting, and that's why Thai people just, because I'm too honest, stuff like that, and I always speak from my mind, and that they hate me because of that. I saw lots of people are very very big fans of me, but in the bad way, like the hater and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm just like
hate watching is such a big thing that I never really understood. Hate watching is such a big thing. And then like making content. Yeah. And then there I've seen so many people that will like make content on TikTok about how much they hate something. It's like, you realize this is just another form of promotion, right? Like if you really hate it that much, why are you promoting it so much? Like why are you talking about it so much?
Exactly.
Why are you pushing the tags so much? It's like there are people who find something to hate or find something to dislike just for views, just to like have content to make. I have seen that a lot.
Yeah, like they always told me that I am attention seeker, and I admit that I need attention because I create my artwork. I want attention. I want people to watch my artwork, and people were like, need spotlight and stuff like that. And when I admitted, yes, of course I need spotlight, I need people to watch my series, and then they were like, you are so crazy, you just shit and stuff like that. And I was like, what? I admit it. I need a spotlight. I need attention. Why are you upset about that? I follow you address, and stuff like that. And okay, so I have a couple more questions. Talking about BL series right now, there are lots of piracy, and it affects me a lot. It affects my career because, it's like I put Call It What You Want at the first day. It's become 10,000 views on the website, on legal website, but become 100,000 views on illegal website.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's hurt my soul. It's hurt my actual and everything, We might plan to do another season, but the things that happening to me is just because we don't have enough money.
It makes it tough. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Do you have any message to those piracy, my everybody films or series?
Oh, I've talked about this so many times on my TikTok, and I've had people in my comments coming after me because of telling people like, and I usually try to stick with the message of watch unofficial and legal when you can. I always like to put that in there because of, because even then though, I get comments after comments after comments after comments of people being like, well, not all of us can afford to have all of these subscriptions. And I understand that, like, I am very privileged that I can afford a VPN and afford all of these subscriptions. But then there are some countries too that are just completely region locked. Like, I have a lot of followers from New Zealand who talk about how basically, unless it's on YouTube, they can't watch it because everything is so region locked. And I guess VPNs are like insanely expensive over there, like even more so than everywhere else, which I don't know, but so it's like, that's why it's like I always try to say, like, whenever there's anything like that, I never want to say like absolutely, like, you should just not watch it if you can't pay for it. Like, I'm not going to say that. But I think, but there are people who will legitimately, like, they can afford it, they just don't feel like they should have to pay for it, which I think is absolutely ridiculous. And I think, and I know that it happens a lot in the West. And I think some of it, what it comes down to is there are so many people who are used to the getting like movies and TV shows from like the really big companies over here, like Disney, Disney, and everybody under Disney, like ABC, Marvel, and then you get like Warner Brothers, Paramount, things like that, where honestly, if 100,000 people watch it illegally, it's not going to put a dent in their pocket. Like, you still probably, like, you still shouldn't do it, but it's not going to put a dent in their pocket. And it's like, they don't realize that it's not the same thing with like BL dramas and these dramas. Like, you really need to look at it more like indie films and things like that, like these smaller independent companies where like every view missed puts a dent in the pocket of the people who are working on it.
Right.
And so I think a lot of people don't really understand that. And then it also goes back to entitlement too. There are so many people who feel like they should just be able to watch it and they should not have to pay for it. And so I think that's the biggest thing for a lot of people is there's a lot of fans who just feel like they shouldn't have to pay for it. And I think a lot of people get spoiled because there are some production companies out there who will just put it up for free on YouTube. And then so that's how, and some of the bigger companies who will just put it for free on YouTube. And so people think that, well, this company is putting it up for free. Why can't every company put it up for free? It's like, the reason that this company is putting it up for free is because they can afford to do that. And it's like, that's not something that a lot of people seem to realize. And they don't seem to realize that, like, piracy and re-uploading and that kind of thing, like, you're not, just because you want to save, $7 for the month, you don't realize how much money that is taking from the people who put a lot of time and effort and money into making this thing for you that you're sitting and watching over and over and over again. It's absolutely ridiculous. But then I've had people coming into my comments and my DMs basically saying that, like, I've had people say like I'm classist, that I'm elitist, that because I can afford these subscriptions that I think I'm better than everyone else, which is absolutely not true. I'm just trying to say, like, I don't think you guys fully understand like what you're doing when you're just re-uploading and watching illegally and that kind of thing. But it's starting to bite people because there are some companies out there, like there's this one Japanese BL that just came out that put out this whole disclaimer basically saying that, like, they don't even want you taking like screenshots. Like, they don't even want you taking like little clips. If they find out you do, they will find, like, they're going to find you and they're going to sue you, which, so it's like, it's getting to that point. Yeah. Where there's so many companies that are like, no, we're gonna find you and we're gonna sue you because we can't have you posting this stuff, and it's causing problems, so that there are some shows who aren't even able to get more seasons. Like there was that problem with Papa and Daddy, where it was looking like they weren't going to get their second season just because people kept re-uploading the shows, and so they weren't getting the view counts that they needed.
Yeah. So yeah, it's kind of very like sad for me because, you know, I spent 2 years, 1 year to create one show, and suddenly people just not support me. They support me, but in the wrong way. So some of the fans were like come to me and was like, I love your show and I love your series a lot, but I asked them where did you watch it? They said Kiss Asian, Drama Cool. I was like, those website is illegal and that is not right to do. So Kiss Asian in and Drama Cool, if you listen to me right now, stop doing this. It's destroying industry. We're gonna die because of you. But anyway, so so the last question is, what do you think about the future of BL?
I definitely think it's growing. It's definitely growing. I would not be surprised if it gets to be like almost to the point where anime is now. Because as coming from someone who was an anime fan pretty early on, not like super like old, but like pretty early on. And then so like seeing it where it was then, where it was more underground when I first got into anime, it was more underground than BL is now. And seeing where anime is now, where you can find anime merchandise or like box sets at your local grocery store, at your local supermarket. Like I think it's definitely growing, and I think it's definitely only going to get bigger. Like we're like the fact that we're seeing more and more countries picking up the genre and putting out more content is, I think, a sign that it's definitely growing. Like we have a common pop culture store, kind of like alternative pop culture store called Hot Topic here in the US. And like 10 years ago, there was like nothing related to anime. Now it's almost all anime. I tell people all the time, I would not be surprised if we start seeing like engineering jackets hung up in Hot Topic for people to sell, or like gear necklaces and things like that. I would not be surprised if like in 5 to 10 years you're able to buy like, Two Moons 2 box sets at your local Walmart. Like
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised at all.
I am very surprising. Like Asian culture is really impact to the US right now, because I saw like number one Billboard Hot 100 is become BTS, which is like I'm sorry for the BTS fans. I don't know BTS and
it's fine. It's fine.
But I was like, whoa, wow, it's just become number one. Like every single song of them become number one. And I was like, oh,
K-pop,
okay.
K-pop, K-dramas, and now BL in general. But then that's one thing too, is it's a lot from Asia. Like it's not just gonna be BL, because I know like me, as well as like a lot of people, like we started in, especially like watching Thai dramas with BL, but we've also like moved on to other dramas. Like I've watched other dramas that aren't BL at all. And so I think just also like the Thai drama industry over in the West is growing as well. Like it's still pretty underground. Like I still like most like 99% of the people I know in real life, when I try and have no idea what I'm talking about, like most of the time anymore. But I do think it's growing. Like how, and was it yesterday in the UK that a whole BL fan meet?
Yeah.
Like the fact that stuff like
you guys should do it in the US, and I want to go there and be there.
I'm not gonna be here.
Oh yeah, because you're gonna come to Korea.
Yeah, I'm moving to Korea. But no, like, and that, like, I mean, I would love to do something like that, but I don't think it's big enough quite yet for that. And with America being as big as it is, like, I think, and then also, like, I live in Michigan. Like, I think if I lived in like LA or Chicago or New York, like a bigger city like that. Like people in Chicago could definitely do it, or like New York City could probably definitely do it. But where I'm at, I would probably have to drive 3 hours to find like another BL fan.
Yeah. So one thing that I want to tell you that you should be a YouTuber. Seriously. That's gonna be so much fun.
I've definitely thought about it. I mean, I bought a mic and everything. Like I've definitely thought about it. I never knew. I always just kind of figured that like I think about how much time it takes for me to put together like a 60-second video on TikTok. And so the idea of putting like even a 10-minute YouTube video together just always seemed like a lot. But now that I think I'm more familiar with it, like I definitely think it's something I want to try getting into. I just need to now more than anything, it's not going to be until after I move, but I think I am going to get into it at some point here.
Yeah,
probably not too far off into the future.
Because I think that your opinion is helped me a lot. When every time when like call it what you want, finish the episode, I was waiting for you on TikTok. I just want to know what happened. So yeah, and thank you so much for being here. I was such an honor
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's such an honor for me to have you here. And I was wide awake right now. Like lots of things that your opinion is open my mind, which is kind of cool. So if you want to follow Tara, so it's very easy. Can you just tell everyone about your social media so people can follow you?
Oh yeah, all of my social media is pretty much the same, so I'm really easy to find. And then pretty much any of my social media that you find first, my other ones are linked on there. So TikTok is where I'm going to be the most active, and that is just Tara0717. That is my handle on there. And then for my Instagram and my Twitter are both linked on there as well. I have my Instagram that I don't post as often. That's just Tara BL. And then I have my Twitter, which is where I get a little more personal on my Twitter, but still really relevant to BL. And that is Tara0717, TARAH0717. And those are my handles for those.
So the link of her social media is going to be below on description, so you can go follow her. And thank you guys for listening to us. It's quite cool. Yeah, thank you so much. And I hope you guys support BL, support romantic. I believe in love, and we all believe in love. And yeah, don't forget to watch my series called What You Want. Is right now it's released in Kakao Olala. And yeah, keep support Tara and keep supporting me. I love you and thank you for listening. Bye.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.